What's going on, gang? We just got done with a patrol of the property, and I think we're gonna bed down here. So let's talk shit hits the fan. All right, so now that we are at our desired location, let's have a little chat. So we're gonna talk shit hits the fan today. Specifically, I wanna talk about some of the things that aren't as cool. And I realize that that is a horrible way to start a YouTube video, but here we are. I want to give you guys some information. I want to give you guys some concepts, some ideas that maybe you hadn't thought of previously. So first off, I'm going to talk about this rifle. And actually, just kidding, this rifle's not as important as you think it is. Night vision isn't as important as you think it is. Now, that being said, I'm in no way, shape, or form saying that you shouldn't have a rifle designed for shit hits the fan or for most combat effectiveness. By no means am I saying that you shouldn't have night vision. What I'm trying to get at here is that there are other things, there are other pieces of the pie, the puzzle, the circle, whatever analogy works for you. There's other things that when you're thinking about shit hits the fan, when you're preparing for shit hits the fan, there are other things that are more important or maybe equally as important. So when you think about a rifle, right, you're thinking about protection. You're thinking about the maximum effectiveness that you can get in your arms to protect your loved ones, your family, your community. Night vision helps you do that at night, all right? What about all that time in between? So the firearms, the night vision, this is trying to help protect your family, your homestead, your property, what have you. But if your family's not fed, if they're not taken care of, if supply's not met, then there's nothing to take care of. Pretty much anyone on the civilian side, hell, I am now a civilian. I just had a job, right, that I learned a lot of these skills, and I continue to train and build off of them. But just that skill set, right, that means nothing if you don't continue to train. I personally know civilians that are significantly more proficient than I am, even at the job that I did. I implore it, I love it. But shit hits the fan. SHTF, whatever you want to call it, end of Z world, whatever. There are significantly more important things than just firearms. You need to think about food. You need to think about water. You need to think about medical supplies. There are so many things that you more than likely are not taking into consideration. What about just morale, right? General, overall morale of your loved ones, of your family, of your children, your grandparents, your neighbors to your left and your right. Hell, maybe you live in an apartment, so your neighbors up and down, left and right, forward and back. Do you know your neighbors? Have you ever talked to your neighbors? Do they prepare as well? Have you maybe talked to them about preparing? Now, you don't have to go crazy schizo with it. Maybe consider talking to your neighbors, talking to the people in your community. Maybe host an open barbecue and just start getting to know the people around you when it finally goes down in whatever capacity. I like to train for worst case scenario. So I'm training for an EMP and a potential invasion. Now, hopefully I can stay at my house as long as I can and I can bug in. Bugging out is stupid. Anyone that has the plan of bugging out, you very well may not last that long, especially if you have women, children, and elderly. Bugging out is a horrible idea. So you want to prepare for bugging in, staying at your premises, or maybe the one caveat, the one perfectly okay to bugging out is going to an alternate location, going to your grandparents, your parents, going to a friend's house that you know is more prepared. Now, that being said, don't just show up at their doorstep being like, oh yeah, I know that you're prepared. I'm showing up to your house after shit hits the fan. No. You need to have something to bring to the table, right? You don't want to be that burden. If you're watching this right now, if you're watching this channel, if you've watched our content before, You should know by now that I do not like people that are a burden. I want to bring something to the table. I want to be useful in some way. That being said, if you're the man of the household, if you consider yourself a masculine man, then you already have something to bring to the table. Being fit, being in shape, is potentially one of the most useful skills that you can have, of just having that cardio to keep up. So when we're talking about preparation, some things that I want you guys to take into consideration, some things that I want you guys to think about, and keeping that supply. So militaries cannot function, militaries cannot fight without bullets, beans, bandages. If you guys are into that weird stuff, bussy. It's a little bit easier to come by. So bullets, beans, bandages. A few things you want to think about. So can you fight? Can you feed your team, your family? Can you take care of them in a medical sense? If you guys weren't aware by now, us human, meat sacks, flesh sacks, right? We're kind of spongy. We don't take too much very well. We are not the most durable of all the animals out here. Now, that being said, we have, a few advantages, that being opposable thumbs and a frontal cortex that works, all right. But if we get shot, if we get wounded, if something happens to us, we can't just shrug it off. Medical is huge. Not only medical, but morale. So something you have to think about is, do you actually have things on hand to keep women, children, elderly, or just weaker people, right? Do you have things to keep them entertained? Do you have board games? Do you have a Faraday cage with electronics? Yes, electronics are evil. Ted was right. Do you guys have the capability to keep your loved ones semi-happy, right? A Faraday cage is an incredible tool. It's fairly inexpensive. And I know that a lot of us, right, we're all balling on a budget. Even this rifle, I've spent years slowly working up. I've not bought some of the fun things that I wanted so that I could buy things to make me more proficient. I have, scrimped and saved in a lot of different ways, so that way I could have more food on hand. So that way I could have a Faraday cage with a few random electronics and an iPad with some movies and some music and some games. And I have a Game Boy Advance with a bunch of games. I have a few things in a Faraday cage. If you guys weren't aware what a Faraday cage is, so one of the simplest ways that you can do this, buy yourself an old 50 cal ammo can, line it with tinfoil, and then line it with cardboard, and then just stuff whatever electronics you want in there. You're trying to do your best for those electronics to not touch the tinfoil. You don't want to touch them the outside because they might get fried as well. You want that tinfoil, because that's going to take all the electromagnetic shock, and then that cardboard is going to be that liner that's not going to allow your electronics to touch the outside. Best way to test a Faraday cage is you're going to take someone else's cell phone, put it inside, try to call that. If there's no ring, then you should be good. There might be some in-betweens, at least in my own experience, that has worked. That being said, I don't have an EMP to test it with. If you have an EMP laying around to test yours, awesome. I do not. So once again, we're talking about supply, right? You are not the United States military-industrial complex. You do not have the power, you do not have the supply, you do not have the funding that the military-industrial complex has on hand. So if you screw up your gloves, if you're a silly goofy silly and you're out in the mountains and you decide that your gloves are a little too wet and you want to put those on the fire because maybe it'll dry it out, and then you wind up with, something along these lines, you have to deal with that. Oh, let's talk SHTF. Do you have spare gloves? That's a very, very simple and useful thing. Do you have spare gloves? Do you have spare socks? Do you have spare underwear? Do you have spare clothes? Do you have spare hats? Do you have spare coats? There's a lot of very simple things that we don't think about on the day-to-day. Do you have water filters? Do you have spare water on hand? Do you have food? Do you have dog barking in the distance? Do you have things to take care of your dog? Do you have medical for your dog? Do you have spare food for your dog, for your pets, what have you? There's so many little things that we don't think about on the day-to-day. Because SHTF, let's be real, you're probably not gonna be in a plate carrier the majority of the time. You're probably not gonna have a rifle in your hand the majority of the time, doing OPs and doing reconnaissance work and going door to door and doing raids. It's probably not that realistic, guys. More than likely, you're going to be taking care of women, children, and elderly. And that's just the reality of it. Now, as a man, right, if you claim to be the masculine man of the house, then yeah, maybe you might be doing, you know, patrols, and you might be staying up, trying to make sure that someone's awake throughout the night so somebody doesn't just burst in the door and schwack everybody. If you have multiple men on one house, which hopefully you do, then you can rotate fire watch shifts. Reality of it is that one man can only do so much. You are one man. If you do not have a team, if you do not have a community, if you don't have other men that you can depend on, there's only so much you can do. You have to sleep sometime, guys. You need a team, you need a tribe. So start talking to people in your community. Start getting to know other men in your community. You know, if you guys weren't tracking, we have a Telegram channel. Every Monday, we do location check-ins to try and find a team. I know a lot of people like to freak out and read about feds, but the federal government exists, and they're not going away anytime soon. So either you accept the fact that you're gonna die alone, or you start building a team. You know, don't talk about illegal shit, don't do illegal shit, or do your best not to and don't talk about it. But you need a team, because you're one man. You know, once again, the United States military-industrial complex, they're not coming to save you. They're not gonna support you. The government, for all intents and purposes, doesn't like you. You're a number. That's all you are. You're a statistic. So you gotta start thinking about you. You gotta start thinking about your loved ones. You gotta start thinking about people you care about a hell of a lot more than you are now. And I would say realistically, one of the best things that you could possibly do to support those loved ones is get in shape. And I know it's preached on, I know it's harped on, I know a lot of people talk about it of, oh yeah, no, get in shape, and oh yeah, no, it's super important. Oh, go get that training. But guys, seriously, you're not going to be able to save your loved ones. You're not going to be able to run to the rescue of people that need you if you are a fat slob. And that's just the reality of the situation. You know, I don't foresee times getting any easier from where we are now, and you guys need to be in shape. You know, let's take into consideration that, you know, maybe things start getting wacky, right? Maybe things start getting bad, and you get a phone call from your wife, from your spouse, from your children, your grandparents, whatever. You get a call that they need you there now. And then for whatever reason, you're in gridlock, an EMP goes off. Worst case scenario, something happens, you need to get home right now. Can your fat ass move to wherever you live? That's something that you really need to start thinking about. Can your fat ass actually move? Are you doing cardio? Do you give a shit enough to be in shape right now? So that way, when the time matters most, you are able to save the loved ones that you care about. That's something you guys really need to start thinking about. What if something were to happen to one of your loved ones, and you know that you could have done something about it? You know that you could have been there, but because you're so weak, because you're so pathetic, because you're so out of shape, you couldn't be there to save them. Can you live with that? Can you say without a doubt that you could live with that? You know, did you, but you had a rough day at work. Oh, but guys, I wanted to drink a case of beer and watch Netflix all night. Although there's a new show on. Oh, I can't go to the gym. I can't go for an extra run. But my show, my sports ball. Friends, Your family, your loved ones, your community needs you to be stronger. Stop making excuses. That's all that you have is excuses. It is time for you to be a stronger man. It is time for you to be a better man. Let's get to it. No, that got a little heavy. So, no bullshit, right? Overall, there are so many things to prepare for. There are so many things to be ready for. Who knows where this world's gonna go? And if you guys have been watching the news at all, it's not getting better. This really is not getting better. I realize that I'm just some random guy with burnt gloves in M81 that's screeching into a camera in the mountains. But if you guys want to take anything that I have to say to heart, I would say the biggest thing is start prepping food, start prepping water, start prepping medical supplies, and get in shape, get that cardio, go on a run. There's a vehicle. No, I'm kidding. All right, so that's all I have for you guys today. I just felt like doing a random rant. Go ahead and hit up the website, hit up the Patreon. If you guys like these rants, we can keep them coming. ATS, go outside and train, rifle and mountain. I'll see you guys in the next one.